about the author of A Little Princess. Her name was Frances Hodgson Burnett. She was born in Hetcham, England, immigrated to the U.S. after her father died. She enjoyed reading books since she was a little girl, and she began to write and publish stories when she was the age of 19. She married Swain Burnett in 1872 and had 2 children with him. One later died with tuberculosis. She divorced Swain and married Stephen Townsend in 1898, but divorced him in 1902 because he was insane and hysterical. Best known for the 3 children novels Little Lord Fauntleroy, A Little Princess, and The Secret Garden. The type of adaptation I want is literal. I love it when the movie goes with the storyline of the book because it's like having your imagination come to life. I also prefer to do it exactly how it is written because I believe the author wrote it that way for a reason. The only thing that I may change is the race of the people playing the role. I would like to keep everything the same and just show the audience a visual look on the book. The plot is Francis Crewe is the father of Sarah Crewe, the protagonist. He was called to travel overseas to invest in a diamond mine, so he had to leave Sarah behind. But before doing so, he enrolls her into Miss Minchin's select boarding school for young ladies. Sarah's father paid Miss Minchin to give Sarah the best room in the dorm for her to sleep in, and provide Sarah with all of her needs, and that he will pay for all of the finances. They were soon told that the diamond mine that Sarah's father was working on was unsuccessful, and that he had lost all of his money. Not only that, but Sarah's father had passed away from a serious illness. So Sarah is left with no money, and a debt to pay to Miss Minchin. When Miss Minchin heard this, her hatred for Sarah grew even more, as she took everything away from Sarah. Sarah was then forced to sleep in the cold attic with nothing more but a pair of clothes and a hard bed to sleep on. Francis Crewe, Sarah's father, had a best friend that worked with him on the diamond mines, although when it looked like the diamond mine was failing, his friend left him and fled. Francis was then left with no one to take care of him when he was sick and passed away, although the truth was soon discovered that the mine was a success and the friend received all the money. He then felt bad for fleeing his best friend Francis to die, and to atone for his mistake he looked everywhere for Sarah to give her her father's share of the money. In the end he found her, and she was rescued from the horrible labor that she had received from Miss Minchin. The protagonist is Sarah Crewe. She was used to further the plot of the story, to show us an image of how a real princess should act and behave. There were multiple times when she forced herself to act like a kind princess to see a better view on life. One was when she heard that her father had passed away. She didn't want to believe it, but remained calm by imagining herself being like a princess. The second time was when she hadn't ate the whole day, but luckily she received 6 buns from the bread shop. Although she saw a beggar girl sitting at the steps hungrier than she was, so she gave the beggar girl 5 bread out of her 6 that she received. In film, I would have her dressed in lovely and bright-colored dresses in the beginning to show her father's wealth and how princess-like she was before everything was stripped away from her. She would then be dressed in nothing but a dirty and worn-out black dress to show her poverty and distress after her father's death was known. In the end of the film, she would be once again dressed in rich and silky clothing because Mr. Carrisford had found her. The person to play this role in my film would be Christina Pimenova. The antagonist is Miss Minchin. Miss Minchin was used to put trials and obstacles in Sarah's path. Miss Minchin's hatred for Sarah was big, and she showed it very often, never giving Sarah the time to explain herself when something had happened. And she knew that Sarah was trying to explain herself as well, although she didn't care about listening to what Sarah had to say. Miss Minchin also punishes her by making her run errands around the town. And when she comes back from all of these hard work, Miss Minchin doesn't give Sarah anything to eat. In film, I will have Miss Minchin always wearing dark colors to show what kind of personality she has, and that she isn't the kind of person you would want to crack jokes around. In the end of the film, she will finally realize that what she did was wrong, but she will still refuse to accept what she did. To show this, she will have no emotion in her face, and her face will be downcasted. The person to play this role in my film will be Louis Fletcher. Support character number 1 is Mr. Carrisford. Mr. Carrisford is an Indian man, Francis Crewe's best friend. He is basically the savior of Sarah, saving her from the miserable suffering and laboring life that she has had for 2 whole years. He's the one that takes care of Sarah in the end and takes her away from Miss Minchin. He was the one that sent his men to secretly send gifts into Sarah's attic room, giving her comfort and warmth. In film, I will have him wear nice and rich clothing to show his wealth, although he will always have a cane nearby because he still isn't fully recovered from the sickness that he received from the diamond mines. In the end of the film, he will look healthy and stronger, standing tall without the need of a cane anymore. The person to play this role in my film will be Sir Ian McKellen. Support character number 2 is Becky. Becky is a clumsy girl who is always bossed around. She loves being around Sarah because she is different from the rest of the people that she knows. Sarah is kind and is very good at telling stories. Even though Sarah was demoted from the top school student into a hard-working little girl, Becky was always there for her. Becky always saw Sarah as a little princess because of the way that Sarah acted. Becky was a small little girl that didn't look her age, and she was always carrying heavy things around, but looked as if she would drop them any moment. In my film, she would be dressed in poor clothing and acting nervous-like because she doesn't want to be found out by Miss Minchin because she always goes into Sarah's room to chat. In the end of the film, she'll be more plump and full because she is well fed. She's well clothed. She'll wear clothes that isn't dirty and ripped. And she'll be more cheerful and happy. The person to play this role in my film would be Nicole Munoz. Setting number 1. One of the settings that I will not change is the attic room that Sarah sleeps in, since it shows the poverty that she is living in. Like it's a totally different kind of world that she is not used to seeing. It's a cold room with no color to it at all, and dust laying everywhere, showing that this room was obviously not taken care of, and that no one had lived in this for about who knows how long, a place that wasn't meant to be slept in. Setting number 2 is another setting that I will not change as well, because it is a room that she slept in before being forced into moving to the attic room, since I want this image to be reflected on her life that she's used to live with her father that was still alive. Totally different from the world that she will soon step into for 2 whole years. The theme is that no matter what you are going through, if you act right and show kindness, things will turn out for the best. That if you always look it in a different way, you'll be happier. In the book, Sarah always acted like a kind princess who loved everyone. Because of this, she'll always get through tough situations and have good things happen to her in the end. Like when Miss Minchin said to Sarah that even when she's going through such a hard difficulty in her life, she never stops acting like a princess. Although Sarah answered back saying, "I try not to be anything else." There was also a time when Miss Minchin was lecturing Sarah and was about to box her ears. Sarah just laughed it off because she was imagining the look on Miss Minchin's face if Sarah was a real princess. That Miss Minchin wouldn't dare to do that to her if she was a real one. This helps develop the theme, saying that if you look on the bright side of things, you'll be more happier. In my film, the theme will be developed just like it does in the book. I don't want to change anything because I feel like the author wants a certain point of view to be exchanged to the audience. Imagery. The image of Sarah's attic room compared to her room before will be drastically different. The room that her father got her was all lively and beautiful, full of color, and had many objects which made it warm. Although the attic room is totally different, it's cold and ugly. A place that Sarah says is like those who lived in the Bastille. While the other imagery is how the attic looks after Mr. Carrisford men sends gifts to Sarah in secret. In my film, I want it to look similar to how her old room before she moved to the attic room, how it used to look like, but this time more of a warm feeling than it did before. Symbolism. The room which her father buys her in the dorm resembles life and opportunity in a new environment. The wealthy and loving father that she is blessed with shows through all the things she had in that room, while the attic room shows coldness and loneliness. It symbolizes her life being turned upside down. In my film, when she takes her first step into the attic room, it shows this small room with peeling wallpaper, a rusty fireplace that looks like it hasn't been used for years, and a hard, cold-looking bed that has rips and cotton coming out. Although when Mr. Carrisford sends his men to secretly send gifts to her, such as a warm blanket, a brand new carpet, a new table and chair, and a new tea set, it will change and remind Sarah of her old room that she used to sleep in, meaning that she will soon step back into the rich and wealthy life that she was used to living in. The conclusion. Number 1 is being strong and not letting everything take over your life. Can always get you through tough times. Thinking positive can let you realize the good points of everything and that everything isn't always all that bad. Sarah held on and constantly thought of herself as a princess, and because of this she was able to overcome Miss Minchin's rudeness and bad temper. Number 2, in today's life, the way Sarah took her father's death can help us get past the depression of our passed away loved ones. Sarah stood strong and acted in a way so that when her father looked at her, he would be proud of her. We too need to realize that this is the way we should act. We should ask ourselves, is this how my loved one wants me to act? Or will they be proud of me if they saw me acting this way? Since Sarah made little crybaby Latte realize this, and it made Latte want to change.